The email module shows an inventory of the email addresses we found on your site and provides in-depth testing of the infrastructure behind each email address. When auditing your website, we identify all email addresses that have been marked up as mail to hyperlinks in web pages, PDF documents, Microsoft Office, Excel and PowerPoint documents. If we select the email category for a site report, the following summary page is shown. The current score is 7 out of 10 and is calculated based upon the number of email problems found and the number of pages tested. The summary page says 647 email addresses were found on the gov.uk website. 607 are OK and working, 28 are impaired, 8 had a fault, and 4 are not checked due to greylisting. This is also shown in the form of a pie chart outlining the percentage of email addresses found. Green indicates email addresses that are OK and working. Red indicates email addresses at fault, where problems may inhibit mail delivery. Orange indicates impaired email addresses, so mail delivery may be delayed. And grey indicates email addresses that are greylisted and so are not checked. The bar chart shows up to the first 10 issues found with email addresses. So for example, this one here shows a fault with the email address inquiry@dfid.gov.uk. Click on the bar to show more information. Toggle the icon next to the email address that's shown in red. The address was found on 2 different pages. Click on these icons to open Snapshot to view the page at the time of the test. The email address is characterized as a fault, as all attempts to send an email to this address will fail. Let's return to the summary page. Also on the summary page is a link to test an email address and receive a new report on just that address and its infrastructure. You can click Inventory and Status to view the email addresses that you link to and their current status. Before we go further, I'm going to introduce some background to Sitemorse email testing. First, we ensure your email domain is always tested. By testing postmaster@ email address for your mail domain, this guarantees that even if we do not find any email addresses linked from your site, you will still benefit from our testing. So how do we thoroughly test email infrastructure? We ensure email addresses are well formed. So for example, if it's missing the @ sign, then it cannot be considered an email address. We report these as email diagnostics. For well-formed email addresses, we look up their domain in the DNS to obtain the list of mail exchange servers, so for example mailserver.example.com and backupmail.example.com, where 10 and 20 indicate the preference value, lower numbers should be contacted first. We look up these server names to get the IP addresses. We connect to the mail server for each IP address, and we go through the SMTP conversation with that server, recording any error messages or problems. Why do we check backup servers? The DNS lists more than one mail server for a domain. Mail servers are tried in priority order, lowest number first. Any mail server could receive emails at any time, for example due to temporary network faults. So Sitemorse checks all listed servers. Returning to the summary page and clicking on either a segment of the pie chart or View all email diagnostics. This page displays individual email diagnostics and a list of the email domains found. The top half of the page indicates the problems with email addresses that were not well formed. We found 9 addresses that failed the diagnostic mail to URL contains bad address. Clicking on this displays the list of addresses and where to find them. If we select the first one, the problem link is shown and where to find it. Let's return to the email results page. The second half of the email results page divides the email domains into 4 categories of fault, impaired, not checked, and satisfactory. Now let's look at each of these in turn. Fault means that problems were found which should be addressed as a priority, as they are almost certainly causing problems right now. Click on the domain to see the email addresses we found, where we found them, and the details of any problems. Email addresses that are categorized as fault have serious problems detected that should almost never be ignored. Examples include an email domain which cannot be found in the DNS, or a mail server responding with a user unknown error message, like here, recipient unknown. Such email addresses will nearly always be bouncing some or all of the email sent to that address. Either the link should be updated with a different email address, or the server configuration repaired to make the address work correctly and reliably. So this email address here is found in this location. In this instance, 3 of the mail servers responded in a timely manner, and one of the mail servers had a connection timed out. We can also see from this error that mx02.smartways.net, which is a lower preference mail server, 40, responded to the RCPT2 with a 550 recipient unknown. Let's look at an impaired email address. Email addresses that are impaired have problems detected, but these may not need immediate action. An example would be a mail server that is temporarily down, or responding with a busy come back later response. This sort of problem is often caused by anti-spam solutions, because a standard effect of anti-spam systems is to cause legitimate mail to be slightly delayed. This is part of the cost that spam imposes on organizations. In these circumstances, it's possible that the problem can be safely ignored. In this instance, we can see this email address here is listed as impaired as a mail server connection timed out. We can see here that mxo.nexent.net, the connection timed out, where this mail server happens to be the highest preference mail exchanger, as well as the lowest. For each mail server, a status is shown, and if available, a graph showing timing data from the test. The mail servers are ordered by preference. Messages may be displayed by the mail servers that are unrelated to a specific email address. For example, if a mail server is refusing connections, then it will be causing problems for all email addresses that use that server, not just one particular address. The timings chart is just for information. It shows the delay at each stage of the SMTP conversation between the Sitemorse testing software and the mail server. If any delay is particularly long, average figures are usually between 100 milliseconds and 1 second, then it may indicate that the server is misconfigured or overloaded. So mx5.nexent.net could be experiencing high load. Now let's look at emails that are not checked due to greylisting. Inevitably, as an automated tool, Sitemorse email testing may come up against anti-spam countermeasures. Email providers have invested heavily in techniques to thwart spammers. One such technique is to greylist mail senders for a period of time. The IP address of Sitemorse's testing server is added to a list of addresses held by the email provider of servers that have tried to send email recently. The mail will at first be refused, but subsequent attempts may succeed. Most servers, but not all, will reply with an informative response to state that the sender has been greylisted, like here. If we are greylisted, the email addresses will appear under the Not Checked section, like this has. It is important to note that because we are greylisted, we are not able to undertake the usual tests. Therefore, we will not be able to tell you whether the mail server was configured correctly and able to accept email for that domain. If your mail domain is greylisted, we highly recommend you contact your email provider and ask for our IP addresses to be whitelisted, whereby they ensure that we are not subjected to anti-spam techniques. We can supply our IP addresses and sample instructions upon request. The last category shows satisfactory email addresses where no problems were found. This completes the introduction to the email module. Thank you.